Terrifying for sure. Hello, my friends. Robert Imbriali here, and in the background, I have the one, the only, the amazing Lewis Herms. Lewis, how are you, my friend?
Great. I need that video, Robert. That was a good one. I will post it everywhere.
It's
Um,
perfect, isn't it?
yeah, some people I don't think are getting the parody and the she's being sarcastic.
Right.
She's actually being a comedian,
Yep.
and it's amazing.
And the
She's so
drama. I love the drama.
I know she's choking on herself.
I
Yeah.
know.
Oh, it was
Oh,
amazing.
brother.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and she's right about all those things. I mean, it is the way it is presented, and obviously, when you look at it from that perspective, it is hilarious. It's like they're so far off base. You know what I mean?
Yeah. MAGA extremists
How do they come up with that
don't
terminology?
Well, well, it all started with Hillary Clinton, but that's another story.
Yeah.
So, MAGA extremists, just in case you're curious, but they justify it. I really think the whole abortion thing, though, is this really pisses off people that believe in abortion.
Yeah.
I really believe it's more about satanic rituals than population control.
Well, it's also lack of responsibility.
Well, no, that's what that selling point is.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying that what they need is they need as many of those babies as possible because they're spellcasters
Right.
and there's a satanic ritual that goes on every day, anytime they want, because they know there's a babies being aborted worldwide.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
Well,
but
that
that's a good,
explains the almost to term abortions. I mean, that's just like that's what that's about. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you're 9 months in, you've made the decision already. You know, you're carrying this thing to term.
yep.
You know. Yeah.
The good news is there's technology that's available now if we ever apply it properly, that when the brain stem is developed or starting to develop, when the heart is starting to develop. So not that that's a justification, but at least if we could pull it back to that and say, okay, this is definitely, you know, early enough in it. And I'm not saying I justify it, by the way, guys. Don't
Right.
come at me like you do. But I'm saying is the technology is there that there may be um, after a certain point, like 6 weeks, 5 weeks in the
And the
pregnancy,
technology
whatever.
is there not to get there in the first place. But okay, that's a different story,
Well,
right? Yeah.
right? Yeah, but no accountability for irresponsible behavior.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, and that's where I kind of draw the line. It's like you got to be responsible for your actions, and if you're not able to do that, then these back doors are probably not the answer for you. You know.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
So how you doing, my friend? I know you're busy.
Yeah, busy. It's okay. I've got myself in this mess. I'm gonna have to get myself out of
I hear
it.
you.
It's good. I'm just working on several projects and I'm hoping to hone them down to just a few by the end of this weekend, and maybe I can start getting a little rest. But, I was just having a conversation with my wife and about, why do I put so much effort into some of these places and so on and so forth. I go, well, it's not into the places as much as it is just for the people,
Right.
right? So I can't have any expectations when I go to these cities and so on and so forth. It's not about me. It's just about for we the people. And she understands that. So
Yeah.
we had
And
an
guys,
interesting
it's really true. I know Lewis personally. I know how hard he works. I want you to go over to Screw Big Gov. There is a donate button on that page, and it would be very helpful to help him out because he's putting his money on the line to do so many of the things that he's doing. You go over to screwbiggov.com. You'll find that donate button there, as well as other things that Lewis has got going on, including swag and his social media links as well. Real important to support the people who are in the field doing the work, right? It's very easy to talk and be a digital warrior and this and that, but if you can throw a few dollars, pocket change or whatever, it makes a big difference. I mean, it may not seem that way. I'm only sending $5, $10, $20, $50, whatever. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if enough people do it, it actually makes a difference. So we appreciate that. On behalf of Lewis, because I know he doesn't like to ask for donations, on behalf of Lewis, thank you.
Well, right. You and I didn't even talk. I talked about that. Thank you. I don't think we even had a discussion about donations for months now.
Right.
So the fact that you brought that up, I appreciate that. I'm not asking or not begging, and but thank you, Robert, for pointing that out.
Well,
Appreciate
it's
it.
you're spending a lot of your hard-earned dollars to support We the People, and I think We the People, if we're not in the field doing whatever, we can throw money your way. We can certainly help, and I do that with Mike Lindell and with others as well. We want to support them and help them out as we can, because they're the fighters, they're the warriors, they're the ones who are facing down the dragon, if you will, and they need the support. If they don't have the support, they're not going to be able to do it, and then we all suffer. How good is that? That's not what we
Right,
want.
right. Appreciate that.
All right. If you want to find out where that video is going to be, I'm going to put it up on Renegade Media on Telegram. You can go to t.me/Renegade Media or just look up Renegade Media on Telegram. And you can email me at robert@renegademedia.tv as well. And that video will be up there. I didn't put it up already, but I'll put it up after the show's done today. So if you want to grab
And
it, that's where it'll
I'll
be.
forward it right away too. I love that video.
Yeah, it is really good. I saw it this morning and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely starting with this. I had a different video planned, and then when that one came along, I'm like, no, this one trumps it. This is how the day goes, right? So you start out and you say, okay, these are the stories I want to cover. Here's the rotation I want, and then stuff comes up, and it's always changing. It's like a puzzle, and there's stuff coming out. Even like 5 minutes before we went live, I'm seeing stuff. I'm like, oh, may need to change something now. You know what I mean? So that's when you're doing news and up to date. We try not to do the breaking news as much because that's often wrong when it first comes out, and we get more context and more color as we go forward with that kind of thing. So we dig into it as we can. All right. Texas is a really interesting, really interesting place, isn't it? So you heard last week that their law that Paxton came up with and said on March 4th it was going to go into effect, where all the law enforcement were going to be able to arrest migrants that were in the state illegally. They would be able to arrest them, and they were just going to turn them over to ICE. ICE is not deporting anyone, so really does it have an impact? Probably not, right? ICE really is on ice, as we like to say around here. They're not doing anything. They're not allowed to do anything. So the Court of Appeals came up, and it was kind of interesting. They blocked Texas from arresting and deporting illegals hours after the Supreme Court ruling. So they got a Supreme Court ruling that said, go for it. You're allowed. You're allowed to protect your borders as a states' rights. You have the right to do it. And then now an appeals court came up and blocked them from doing just that.
I've never heard of an appeals court circumventing the Supreme Court.
Exactly right. Exactly
See,
right.
we're getting all these firsts.
Right.
If you noticed in the last couple of weeks, and I think these are just wake up calls because that's ludicrous.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's actually a hierarchy, everybody, just so you know. And on top of the mountain is the Supreme Court.
Yep. It's supposed to be that way. So this is Ken Paxton trying to explain it, and he was called into court today.
Here we are. We're going to be arguing about it in an hour.
We don't know where we are. Is it on? Is it off? Nobody knows. Is it the law in Texas? Is it not the law? Are we allowed? Are we not allowed? You're right, though. Shouldn't the Supreme Court reign supreme? That's why they call it the Supreme Court?
That's the word supreme, right? It is wonky, and I think it's got to be intentionally wonky. There's only really two scenarios at this point. I think anybody that's really paying attention, let's say they're within the patriot perception and conspiracy, there's only two things that could happen.
Right.
Either there's a group out there, you call them white hats, gray hats, whatever you want, that are controlling the messaging to make everything look like, what the heck? So we rise up, or at least we have an understanding of what's going on and wake up quicker. Or the deep state is backed up so far in the corner, they're throwing everything they can constantly at the wall to get this done. So, but I don't think there's any two other options besides those at this point. But the common denominator between the two is we the people are winning.
Right.
And that's the beauty of this. So you don't. I would caution people to get too excited or too down because of either scenario that you believe to be true. Just know that both of these scenarios equal we the people are winning. So I think it's a great thing when it comes down to it.
Well, the other piece here that you can look at, if you take a step back, you say, you keep hearing, oh, the border's secure, the border's secure, the border's secure, and yet they fight tooth and nail to keep it open, right? So the idea is, oh, it's an accident, oh, it was Trump's policies, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. If we just gave us more money, we'd be able to do something. No, that's not true. That's clearly not true, because they wouldn't be fighting this at this level. Clearly,
Yeah.
I mean, common sense would dictate that. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand it.
Agreed. Agreed. There was an interesting question in chat, and I'd like to address
Mm-hmm.
this. RSANF Filippo 1 says, if white hats are in control, what the hell is going on in New York City? Well, this goes down to my scenario, and the people, the popcorn eaters that say the white hats are completely in control, don't like this, and then the dark black hat type people, or people that think everything is the world and the sky is falling, will not like the scenario either.
Right.
I believe that's exactly the way it is, because the good guys are pushing the focus in to the black hat strongholds. And what I mean by that is I believe there's still deep state strongholds. Those haven't all been cleared out. So that's why I say both scenarios aren't mutually exclusive. They're inclusive. So you're seeing the cities, the major cities are all getting exposed right now.
Yep.
They're all completely falling apart. The laws that are coming through are just absolutely crazy. They're getting rejected wholesale. I cannot believe how many people California lost in just the last few months moving to another state, right? So all of this stuff is being exposed on a higher level. So by design, I believe the white hats, I've never said in control, by the way. Never will you hear me say that. I'll say they are maybe in control of a chessboard, but there's still moves to be played. But that being said, I believe it's more than reasonable that they're exposing the deep underbelly of the deep state by doing it with inside their particular cities, would be my opinion on that.
This is a conversation I have almost nightly at home. It's just the same thing. And we always have to go back and remember, we keep thinking in black and white. We keep thinking A equals B, and it's so simple. It's either this or it's that. It's binary. It's not. And there's a lot of things that are going on that we don't fully understand, and we're trying to analyze what we're seeing. And sometimes we're not seeing the full picture because we're not supposed to see the full picture. And what looks really bad could actually be a play to the good. And, it's really hard to keep that in mind, because the brain always wants to try and figure out, okay, is this good or is this bad? Well, maybe it's neither. Maybe it's just a stepping stone to what's going to be good later on. And it's hard to keep the straight and narrow, because I see people all the time blowing up emotionally over this stuff. They see things happen. They go, oh, my God, this is horrible. I'm like, maybe not. Maybe it's a play. Maybe it's part of the melding of the two,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. I know we all want the easy answers, but it doesn't happen that way. So with all this going on, the police chief in Fort Worth came out and he released a message today. You got to hear this. Then we got to have a chat about this one. We're not doing it. We're not going to abide by the law. Although he says he abides by the law, he's not going to abide by the law.
No, he's not abiding by constitutional law. I'll tell you that.
Not at all. Is he remembering his oath, or did he forget?
No, I don't think he forgot. I think they disregard their oath. And there is something called corporate law, by the way. And I'm not talking about suing a corporation,
right,
and edict like that. What it is corporate law inside the police community is pretty much, we're listening to our controllers. We don't care about we the people. And unfortunately, for those of you that have been backing the blue for so long, I don't want to hurt your feelings. In fact, I can tell you absolutely the truth. Literally, while this was playing, an ex-police chief from the CHP that I know is a friend of mine called me. So it's not that I do not, and that literally just happened. So, and I can get away with saying literally, not like my teenage kids would ever say it.
How would they say it? Tell me how they would say it.
Yeah, all the time, no matter what. It's everything's literally, even if it's not literally. Um, but anyways, the point being is so I'm not against the blue, but those of us that have blindly backed the blue, just know you're backing a lot of people like this who have no intention to be with we the people. In fact, they're using your support to their advantage.
Right.
So now I would take, and again, this takes energy, and this is what's really tough about us winning this war is now we have to make a a decision based on information about each individual police department, police officer, and chief of police, not blanket back to blue because they use that to their advantage.
Right.
Remember, the Freemasons, everything is in black and white unless they want you, right, to be confused, like the whole trans agenda, then it's very murky and so on and so forth. So we have to understand they play both sides of the coin very, very well.
They do, and you know, to see this is it's kind of disheartening. You know, you're going against what the governor of the state wants. You're going against what the law of that land will be, or is, or maybe isn't. We don't really know at this point. But you know, to come out and say de facto, not our job, not doing it. Really, I think this guy
Well,
needs to be voted out.
well, or by de facto, then that's where all the illegal should be imported.
Yeah,
When these guys make these stupid statements, that's pretty much saying we're a sanctuary city without taking a vote.
right.
Great. Okay. If that's the way you want to behave, here you go. The next 400 bus loads are coming to your town.
Very true. Very true.
And it's not too far away from the border, y'all.
Yeah, you know, Texas is an interesting story. They're doing what they can, and they, you know, the interview went on this morning on Bannon's show, and they were asking Paxton, "It's like, what are you guys doing?" Bannon said, "With the wire, you know, the Cantina wire there that they're putting out," and he said, "Well, nobody told us to stop, so we're laying more and more wire." And you know, right now, the Border Patrol is not cutting it out. So they've backed off. They've stopped doing that, which he said was really good. And he's trying to get this thing passed so you know, their law enforcement can actually do something. Whether or not how do you go against the Supreme Court again? What are we missing here?
It just blows me away. It just absolutely blows me away. So, but I think that's a big, huge wake up call.
Yes.
And these are all compounding. We knew it would be March Madness, and it certainly is.
Oh, March is always crazy March, right? It's just the way it is with weather, with everything, and yeah, we're transitioning to the spring. Well, actually, we are in spring. No, 21st tomorrow. I think was the first day of spring, right?
Mañana, yes.
And then New Year's coming up right after that. It's like, whoa.
Oh, I love it. New Year's, guys. New Year's is coming up. Everybody's going, what the heck are they talking about?
And we're going to have a full day Truthathon on the 30th of March is what we're planning right now. So look forward.
Celebrating the upcoming New Year.
Yep. Look forward to that, and don't make any plans for that Saturday because you're going to be busy. You're going to be watching a stream all day long. And if any of you want to stream the stream on your channels, please get in touch with us, and we'll see if we can make that happen for you.
And if anybody's unfamiliar what we're talking about with New Year's, post it in the chat. If we get a bunch of them, we'll explain it because I don't want people to be lacking the information.
Right. They're going, what are you guys talking about? What
You
you
got to
talking
say
about?
New Year's. Just put New Year's question mark, and then we'll know that we need to explain.
Yep, we need to explain. Cowboy Grub says, awesome, Lewis. He's on board. He knows what's going on. Fantastic.
Cool.
All right. So what's going on in Capitol Hill today? Anything big? Small? What do you think?
Here's the question. Is it really going on in Capitol Hill?
It's more like an ingrown toenail sometimes, I feel, but okay. We're not going to go there.
Or is it a movie set?
Yeah.
You know,
We don't know. Yeah. Whether or not it results in anything, I have my doubts. But here's the opening statement from our...
For his lies.
So it goes on from there, and basically Raskin was interrupting him because he felt like he was abusing Raskin, calling him a liar. I'm like, he is a liar. He's telling the truth.
So it's very interesting, and we've noticed this at Board of Supervisor meetings that we work at. you're pretty good to make your statement within the allotted time,
Yep.
but if you bring up one of their names, they use it as an excuse to interrupt you, yet they don't add on to your time based on their interruption.
Right.
So this is the type of things that we're teaching um, across the board, so people understand you need to go by a certain protocol. I call it a military operational protocol, so you know what your enemy is going to do and what they're looking for. So never give them that meat unless you're quick on your feet to handle it. So, for example, if I was speaking and I brought up Raskin, and Raskin did that, and I'd say, I've been interrupted. I need to get more time. He interrupted again. I need to get more time. He interrupted again. I need to get more time. Clearly, he's defensive, and then you start going at him, right? About this, I need to get more time.
Right.
And what happens is you're holding whatever committee it is, whatever board of supervisors accountable at the same time you're exposing these. And we tend to get upset and flustered by that, but this is intentional. And Bobulinski did a good job keeping going. He could have used it to his advantage at the same time to expose who was saying that, so the world would know.
Right after that clip where I cut it, that's what happened. He did interrupt him, and then Comer put him back on track. He said, "No, you keep going. Ignore that guy." You know.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good. So yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah. So it was a long clip. I just don't want to play the whole thing, but we'll put the whole thing up on Renegade if you want to see it. It's circulating, so it's all over the place. It's not hard to find.
Well,
but
it would make sense with that high level. He should have a clue on how to do it. So I'm glad you said that he did that, because that would be a surprise if he didn't.
Yeah, and Bobulinski, the guy with the funny name, is apparently a Navy officer and business owner, multiple business owners, sold many businesses, taken them public. I mean, I didn't know his background, but that's kind of impressive that he would risk it all to come forth with this information.
Right.
know?
Well, the question I have from the beginning with all these is, why were you involved with these people in the first place?
Right.
2 decades at least.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad he's coming forward and doing this, but you still had a choice in the first place. And I believe what people do, even good people, and this is the kind of the issue I've seen in getting people to come farther in this awakening, is I've noticed that many people always use the excuse, well, I'm just making money. It's just my business, right? Yeah. And you know what I mean? So they don't make the hard decisions. They make the easy ones because it's better for the bottom line, because we've been brainwashed to think that that's okay and that's priority.
Right.
Your pension, your check, the money you make is more important, and it justifies a lot of things. Great example, real quick. If you just watch commercials in the last 5 years, you'll notice there are people that are intentionally lying about their wife, their kids in the commercials, but it's okay for whatever reason to sell this product, right?
Because they're actors and they're paid to read scripts.
Yeah, it blows me away. But they're reading a script where they're lying to their actor wife,
right?
And we're supposed to go, oh, well, in that case, because he's taking the blue pill.
Every movie's a lie, right? Every movie's a lie. Then if you look at it from that perspective, it's like, where do you draw that line?
No, a little different, Robert. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Yeah. You're talking about just because you're playing a part, you're an actor, you're not really a liar. I see what your point is. I'm talking specifically the character is telling lies and stealing things from stores, and this has been okay throughout the commercial industry in the last 5 years. To there's some justification that you take pizza off of somebody's plate while you're walking by their table because it's so good, and you're like, and they're eating. I'm like, wow. So they've been programming us that this selfish behavior is totally justified.
You're going to get punched in the nose if you do that to me. I'm sorry. Nobody touched my pizza.
Sorry.
You want to see what an explosion?
I reclaim my time.
Oh my, Rico's not a crime. Okay.
Yeah.
I learned something new every day.
Let's be clear, and I'm not as sure on everything else as I'm sure on this. AOC is an actress.
Oh, yes. No question.
100%
Yep.
actress.
Yep.
And I'm not just talking because she was an actress when she was interviewed in a bar and they hired her, they brought her on for this position. I'm saying she's an actress, and we have to be well aware of that. She is playing a part like you can't believe. She never has the information because she doesn't. Now, I think her part as of late is to become unhinged because I've been starting to watch a pattern with her.
Yep.
There's an interview on the street. She freaked out and she actually called him the F word and so on and so forth. I think that's the direction we're going with her. So, guys, that is an actress. 100%. These are one things I don't even say my opinion. I have just no doubt in my mind whatsoever on that.
Yeah, she's not going to do any studying, and she's certainly not going to know what RICO is, and she's not going to know. You know what I mean? This is just not her area of expertise, if you will. So yeah, it's kind of funny to see.
It should be, because if she was real, she would be charged on RICO.
Yeah, but
she better come. She's going to be familiar with it soon. If she's not an actress,
it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
One
transfer.
Got the receipts. The receipts are there.
Yeah.
Now what?
And so that you don't know, Gong Wang is the John Wayne of China.
Oh, really? He's an actor?
Oh, it's Gong Wang. We love a Gong Wang.
Well, he was Dong Wang, then he was Kevin Dong or Kevin Chong. I mean, it was like two different names. I'm like, okay, well, which one is it?
This is definitely a show we're watching.
Okay. At the end of all of this, nothing's going to happen.
No, it can't. Here's the biggest challenge we have in this so-called government we have. Even if it was real, a virtual 50-50 split in the House and the Senate means nothing of substance ever is completed.
Right.
Ever.
Yep.
So just another reason why I think we should abolish all parties. And I believe that's the direction we're going. So it appears to me that President Trump has aligned himself with the Republican Party so he can take down the Democrat Party, just destroy it. And then what happens is I believe there will be no need for the Republican Party. And that in itself will melt away when we can start holding people accountable for their fruits and not for what the party line is. In my essence, there's three large parties now. You have the Democrats, you have the Rhinos, and you have the Republicans. The smallest one of those three parties by far is the Republicans, the legit Republicans.
Right.
They probably hold 10%. The Rhinos of their party hold a good 90%, and then you have the Democrats, who are lock, stock, and barrel demonic in the same realm. So it appears to me, and I hope I'm right, because ultimately I don't believe there should be parties, and there certainly shouldn't be a two-party system. That's ludicrous based on everything that we've learned about what the founding fathers wanted. That's just ludicrous. By the way, that's Freemason 101 again. To make sure it always looks 50-50. Sometimes you get a fake Republican in, sometimes the Democrat in. It's a game that's been played for a long time. And I believe what they're doing is they are destroying the Democratic Party. Now, I hope it's not two Freemasonic organizations, which is my concern. One is destroying another one so they can run the world.
Right.
I hope the next step is then you ultimately are going to eliminate the Republican Party. There should be no need. We should vote and based on the fruits of their labor, and if they're keeping their word on a specific subject. That's it. The party system also contributes to the laziness in our society, because what we do is, and I've been guilty of it back in the past, I'm in a hurry, I go to a voting booth, I know about 3 or 4 people, and the rest I would just click, okay, they're that party, click, 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 right?
Yep.
Totally guilty of it.
Yep.
So we need to eliminate that, where people actually have to do our due diligence. And this is why I always say we the people are accountable for where we got here, including myself, because I had lazy behavior and I did not dig in to our representatives.
Well, it takes too much time. It's like everything else, right? It's like you don't have time because life is busy. We're on the treadmill always, and look up each one, and then when you read the bios about these people, you can't tell where they stand. The
Nope,
one
you can't.
paragraph that you get is there's nothing there. You've got to dig further.
Well, now with technology, though, it should be easier and easier.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if we trim down all of what I call gov, and gov is is big agriculture, big food, uh, big pharma, uh, our legal system, our 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 not what am I calling it? Our legislators, right? If we trim all of that down to 10% of what it is, then we wouldn't have any of these
Right.
problems because it would be very concise. Okay, what did you do here? Great. What are you going to do? Fantastic. Go. This is why we're creating a scorecard for the sheriffs for the exact same reason. But unfortunately, we the people with zero budget have to do due diligence to contact these 3,300 sheriffs. So, but ultimately, if we were doing these things right from the beginning, I wouldn't be pulling my hair out to get them all done right now.
Well, back to the party idea. The truth of the matter is, the after party is always more fun anyway.
The after party. True that.
So we have a way to increase our animals' IQ, don't we?
We do. Well, I would think the first thing you do if you learn about the food that your animals are eating, it's increasing their humans IQ first. And then by proxy, because you feed them the right food and the right supplements, their IQ and energy is going to go up dramatically.
Yep.
And that's a guarantee.
That's a guarantee. No question. So this is Cooper. Cooper was a little on the lethargic side, didn't act like a normal husky. And all of a sudden you started feeding him better. And what happened?
He smiles a lot. I don't know
Wow.
if you've ever seen a husky smile. It's pretty cool. So he smiled, and he greets people when they come in the door, which
Oh,
before he literally would just lay down and just kind of look at you while you go by, and But he greets people, and often he jumps up and excitement, especially if I'm gone away for a few days, and now he wants to play more too, which I think is amazing.
wow.
The only thing that changed was his diet, and he's 10 years old, so it's pretty impressive.
So let's talk about Pet Club 24/7 for a moment, and what is in this magic food that makes such a difference with our pets. And I've seen it with my pets as well. And it's so funny. Everyone I talk to, including Bruce, and everyone's got the same story. It's like, oh my God, I started feeding the food, and all of a sudden, more energy. They act more like themselves. They're 10 years younger. So
Yeah.
what's in this magic food?
Yeah, I think it's more what's not in this magic food. And unfortunately, uh there's four major food companies, and they're all like candy bar companies, if that tells you all you need to know. And they put the worst stuff in the food. There's virtually no regulations of what they can and can't do. And I believe it's intentional. They're intentionally poisoning your little fur babies,
Yeah.
and it's because again, just like big pharma, it perpetuates the industry. You don't you If you don't think the veterinarian industry is and the medical industry, big pharma again runs. By the way, that's who supplies the medicine to the vets. It's still big pharma.
Yep.
So you'll still have your major companies, your Mercks and all that supplying the medicine to the vets. So again, it's the same thing. They poison our pets, right? And what it does, it supports your veterinarians, and it supports big pharma again. The sad thing is you would probably need maybe two vets for a population of 50,000, because they would be for emergencies only in most cases,
Right.
if you just fed your pets properly.
Yep.
They know that, by the way. By the way, the things that we say about what the big pharma and big agriculture and everything like that does, don't you for a second think they don't know. They 100% know. They know. They probably know to to the man how many people they're poisoning with their food. I mean, this is absolutely, they're all statistic driven. They know exactly, they have all the algorithms to analyze everything. So they know exactly what they're doing. That just doesn't become public knowledge,
I mean,
right? Back to
yeah.
any environmental impact whatsoever.
Yep.
That should tell everybody everything you need to know,
Yep.
right? But as soon as you bring them into a so-called human main environment, now they're subject to all the environmental impact. And I'm not talking about fake climate change. I'm
Yep.
talking about the real environment, the chemically treated environment, the poisons in here, the stress that we have, everything. Your animals go through all of that and more.
So Pet Club 24/7, you're going to find the link in the description of the channel you're watching on. We've got several channels today that we're streaming on, so you're going to find the link there for it and check it out. There's also a link for cats.
Are being solved with that. And
Yep.
I can't go into too much detail, but you should click on the human tab on the Pet Club 247 and it will blow you away.
Yep, absolutely. Is your fountain running?
My fountain is, no.
It's not running?
My fish tank is.
Oh,
my refrigerator's running. Should I go catch it?
All right. If your fountain's not running, we're going to have to bring on a fountain here. Hang on just 1 second. Let me go flip the switch. What's going on here? Oh, gee, we have a fountain. Here we go. Look at that bubbly smile.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Very well, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. It's been a long day, but doing very well.
Alan, it's been a long life.
Both of you. Yeah. Great segment on Bob Lulinski. I covered this about a year and a half ago. And this is nice to see it actually coming into the mainstream narrative. You know, that in itself, during this long drawn out psy-opera that we're in, it's refreshing to just see some more validations. But like you said earlier, what's going to happen? You know, let's see what happens.
Yep.
You know.
No path forward as far as I'm concerned. There's nowhere it's going to go. To the Senate, it's going nowhere. They're not even going to bring it up for a vote. Yep. And then it would have to pass by 2/3, and then it would have to have a trial in the Senate. Not going to happen. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Yeah. There's no path forward.
So here's what I'm telling people in the Board of Supervisors and across their communities and their school boards. Because there's clearly no path forward doesn't mean it doesn't have value.
Right.
So there's a lot of value, and the value is we're putting this stuff on the record. We are building a case, and we're building a physical case and a case of consciousness throughout the world. So whether these have any fruits that we see right away, I think you're right, Robert. I doubt they will, but they're supremely important because we're building a record, and this is part of the process for people. Even more so, sometimes these things not going forward works to our benefit because then we can expose the corruption of why it didn't go forward.
Okay, hypothesize for me, Lewis. Just hypothesize. We've got this big foundation of all these things that are on the record. Yep. How do you think it could get used in the future? Do you have an idea on that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I've had this question on a smaller, limited scale. But so to give you an example, we're building a case. So when you line these things up in chronological order, and almost like a flow chart, see, this was said here, this happened, boom, so on and so forth, and then you put a red line, boom, but it was stopped. We had all this information. Fraud. And look, these 70-some judges stopped it on process alone. Never happened in the history of any cases that you would have that many stopped on process alone. Full stop. So you build up the case. So when it comes forward, I believe what we're going to have is we're going to have a Nuremberg type of trials, and I believe we're going to have RICO cases galore. And I know that based on my reading of the 87-page Dominion lawsuit from Mike Lindell against Dominion. That's the direction I think we're going. So this all hurts. It's a pain in the butt, but I think it's all necessary to get this on record because I believe they will all be used in I believe they're already building the story is what they're doing, which, by the way, is frustrating. That's why you see some things roll out and you're like, well, why would that come out now and this come out now and so on and so forth. I believe they have a chronicle. When I say they, the gray hats have a chronological order that they need it to be in to build this story that I'm talking about. this is my hypothesis, right? But at the same time, seems to be some evidence how important it is to get things on the record. And I believe that's what
Well,
we're doing.
that
Right?
kind of makes sense then, because there's direction then to there's reason to put it on the record because it can be used later on. I get it now. Okay, that makes sense. So we're not going to see the immediate path forward, but we'll certainly see it down the road somewhere.
Yeah, it'll be a replay. Is what it will be.
Yeah, okay, got it. You agree, Alan?
This kind of goes into alignment with what you're talking about, the political narrative of you're talking about it being lined up and how it falls into line. This is what I was going to talk about in the geopolitical religious narrative that's going on in the Middle East right now. There was something that's come into my consciousness over this past week that when different people come into my life, it's like you're getting a sign from to talk about this topic. But I had a unique incident with an Uber driver, with a friend who was dating someone from Syria. My Uber driver was from Palestine. And he actually said, "Do you know what's going on in the world?" I said, "Wait a minute, you just asked the wrong person." So we got into a conversation. And so he got on the topic of what's going on with the red heifer prophecy and what happened on October 7th from what he knows firsthand. And he shared his fears with me. His fears are that they're baiting a war with trying to use different religious factions are trying to use their prophecy to affect change across the globe. And I happened to catch Greg Braden in a recent podcast, and I posted it today. He did a great breakdown of this Pythagorean biblical code that is playing out in the Middle East. And so what it is it's playing into kind of the Masonic Pythagorean numerology, as well as this alleged biblical code. Carrie Cassidy did a interview with Bob Wood a while back where they did these timeline prophecies or timeline calculations mathematically to figure out timelines. Greg Braden speaks about how that mathematically they have been able to go back and look at these biblical codes and decrypt these biblical codes that validated JF Kennedy's assassination, different things when Israel was formed in 1948, it became a nation. All these things have played out. And he was speculating that we know Wano Sab. Greg is putting it into perspective of how this would play out in a biblical perspective and his take on it. And it was pretty interesting to watch because I've been very confused as someone who doesn't want to see harm come to any human, whether they're in the Middle East. And he was alluding to that a lot of these people believe that in order to, that this is the Psalm 83 war, that the Psalm 83 war and the Gog and Magog wars have to happen in a certain increment before we could go into a more peaceful timeline. And to me, this, I feel like I come from a we the people coming from prayer, we the people coming from intention. Why do we have to let something that was written 2,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago dictate how we, have our world unfold right now? But I would advise people, if they want to know from a biblical perspective, a more detailed, Greg Braden does a great breakdown, and I put it in my Telegram, and I'm going to share it on the Truth Tour chat also. But have you heard any of this all of this chatter in kinetic energy right now about what's going on in the Middle East and how this has to happen in order before we can go to our next phase in life?
Yeah, so I've heard a lot about the Red Heifer project in conjunction, believe it or not, with the eclipse that's coming over. And I have friends that are into this. And I'm probably the worst person because I always say, I think you're reaching too far.
Oddly enough, it's playing out in certain areas.
Some of it, though, is absolutely amazing how it seems to parallel what was written in the Bible. Now, there's a lot that people jump to it, and they I believe also you have to be very careful. I believe the deep state tries to mimic
I agree.
what was written in the Bible and get it to play out so they can move things forward
Yep.
to Satan's rule and all this other baloney.
See, this is where I was
their
going to go.
their false prophet, their fake Messiah.
Predictive, it can be predictive programming that people who are brainwashed under religious doctrine will believe when this war happens that no one on earth has to take accountability because God designed it,
Yes,
through
exactly.
the voice of these other men. So this is where I'm coming from after hearing all of these. This guy from Palestine was like heartbroken and, was wanting there to be peace. And so all of these different factions, Greg breaks it out, what their history was and why Israel became a nation in 1948 and how we have these two factioning nations, Palestine and Israel. But my thing, coming from a human perspective of who wants peace in the world, is I'm coming from, let's create our own reality. Let's be we the people. Let's put our intentions out there. Let's think positively. Let's put love out into the world. Because he spoke about how that we could get to. They were debating whether or not we could skip to the peaceful part of this plan by the love frequency going up or the love among humanity, and whether or not we had to have these wars in order for us to get to a certain the 1,000 years peace, but it was very, very detailed this is a chatter not just picking up from one source. I got it from 10 different sources over the last week. Is why I wanted to put it out there and where I'm going to go with this is I'm going to put peace out into my intentions into the world. Period.
And I think that is huge. And you and I have talked about this offline. Is we can manifest all this stuff, all the good stuff, and we need to stop buying in to any fear porn that's connected. And I have these conversations with some of my friends that are oh, I don't know, this is going to happen and this is going to happen, and I say, I reject that.
I reject it.
They said, how could you reject it? It's this and it's this and this. I go, I reject it. Because we hold the power to create our own destiny.
Yes.
Right. So I reject a lot of it outright.
Yep.
And I here's one of the things is it seems like it's scientific now, and I'm still studying it, but it appears that frequency is 4,000 strong. I'm sorry, authenticity is 4,000 times stronger of a frequency than even love is. So
interesting. Yep.
If we are just authentic and act in love, we already won.
See, I'm matching with you there. I identify with that, and along my journey, what I've known is to have survived so much adversity over my life. My whole journey, I tried to be authentic, and be vulnerable and authentic and truthful, regardless of anyone put a stigma or shame on something, or whatever. And so far, it's done pretty, I could be some things I would like to change in my life, but I'm a survivor, and it's from being authentic, So I believe you there. I love that.
Appreciate that. Anything else you got for us today, Mr.
No, I just wanted to put that out in there and let people know that if they start hearing all of this damnation and doom, things might happen. There might be some things that happen, but you don't have to feed into it because you might be helping manifest somebody else's desire. And we don't know, we can be a living Bible right now.
That's right. I think we need to be very, very careful of doing that because we, the people, can manifest. I don't believe the satanic deep state cabal can. So they use us by proxy. It's like Munchausen syndrome by proxy. They use us by proxy to manifest for them.
Exactly.
So
creativity.
In essence, we become sick because of their predictive programming, and then they get what they wanted. Everybody becomes sick. We're done with it. They can no longer have the power.
Future. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
I agree. Where can we find you, Alan Fountain?
You can find me on Fountain of Truth Media on Rumble, or you can just put my name in Rumble, Alan Fountain, or you can go to my Linktree, Alan Fountain 11. And you can get me there on my blog, Georgia's Families for Justice, gfforjustice.com.
Fantastic. Appreciate all the work you've done and how you've powered through and your example of how you can get past all this craziness in the
Absolutely. Life. You have to, transmute it and go on.
Thank you. Ladies and
let's-
gentlemen, that was the fountain of truth.
The fountain of truth for sure. Thank you, Alan. We appreciate you.
you guys. Thank
All right.
you.
Whew. Lots going on today. Ready for more?
Bring it.
Bring it. Oh, who's that?
Oh, is that Latitia or is that? Oh no, wait, is that Brown?
That is Brown.
Yep.
Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice. This is from Zero Hedge. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson claims she lacked the expertise to define a woman. Now, just 2 years later, she did not hesitate to redefine the First Amendment and free speech as she advocated for the regime to bulldoze our constitutional liberties, provided they offer sufficiently sanctimonious justifications. At Monday's oral arguments in Murphy versus Missouri, Jackson said her biggest concern was that the injunction, which is to stop the government from using social media to censor us, prohibits the Biden administration from colluding with big tech to censor Americans, may result in the First Amendment hamstringing the government. I didn't grow up in this country, but even I know that's what it's supposed to do. She scolded counsel. Some might say the government actually has a duty to take steps to protect citizens of this country. Jackson's formulation inverts the structure of constitutional liberties. The Constitution does not limit the powers of citizens. It restrains our elected officials from tyrannical overreach. It's the law that governs those who govern us. Details, just details. We don't want to go there.
Yeah. The Marxist word speak is awesome,
Isn't it, though?
actually. Yeah, they invert everything.
Yeah.
For example, if you ever look at their charities, or let's just make up something, charity that's called Integrity for Everyone would be exactly the opposite,
Yep.
right? Anything that has the word equitable and it is not equitable at all. That's what they do. It's they understand. Here's what they understand that most conservative patriots don't understand, and they're getting it, is this is all spell casting, right? So they're the reason why they wordsmith and they have all these writers is how can we trick and manipulate people, and you trick and manipulate them, you're virtually casting a spell. And it's no accident that many of them say their things 3 times. So yeah, it's fun. Again, is that deep state desperation, or is that an actress just absolutely exposing herself? I mean, we're going to have to start asking this question all the time because it's pretty blurry, which is intentional. It's called the fog of war. So,
well, you know, the later generations, the younger kids are believing the Constitution is this old dusty document that needs to be updated. It's like, well, you don't really update a Constitution in the same way you don't just remove the foundation from a house and put a new one in.
right.
You know?
Well, you know, it's interesting. If you raise children, and I'm also talking about the education system raising them, so I'm not blaming you parents, but if you raise children and the education system helps raise them without principles, they will never grasp how important the founding fathers' messages were.
Right.
Because what happened is our set of laws and principles were based on principles.
Yep.
Principles that, by the way, never go away. Principles are principles. So if there's a certain way that you should behave and certain things should be free, that's been from the beginning of time. It's been people manipulating it, something else. So if they grow up without a set of principles, they'll never understand that how is it even possible that somebody 250 years ago would know exactly what to do. It doesn't calculate in their mind because they don't understand what principle is.
Right.
Principle is forever. That doesn't change. If it does, we have a big issue.
Yeah. We've got to have some guidelines. We've got to have some rules, and the Constitution lays that out for us in a way that allowed this country to be the most successful country of any in history of the earth. you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've had people tell me, and I'm leaning their direction that the Bible is a law book also.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, maybe.
you can read it in that realm as well. It's pretty interesting.
Shall we continue with the Supreme Court?
Oh yes, we love the
Oh,
Supreme
more
Court.
SCOTUS news. Hey, hey, hey. Libs are so convinced Trump will win that they're trying to boot Sotomayor before the election. What the heck is going on here? I read that and I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't quite get this. Justice Sonia Sotomayor will turn 70 in June. What a spring chicken. If she retires this year, President Joe Biden will nominate a young and reliably liberal judge to replace her. If Sotomayor doesn't retire this year, she'll be making a bet that she will remain fit to serve until possibly age 78 or even 82 or 84. And she'll be forcing the whole Democrat Party to make that high-stakes bet along with her. This is panic. What else can you read this as? This is panic.
Yeah,
Right?
it's been well. These are from the same people that want to increase the size of the Supreme Court so they can create a fake majority. It's all manipulative, and they have followers that go, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea." So let's trick the system. Let's lie. Let's use fakery. I'm supporting that because it supports the way I think. Again, because they don't have principles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
Like they're trying to
interesting.
force her out, though. I mean, this is kind of interesting. It's like,
Yeah. Well, I believe RGB was on some form of life support or maybe just ice for about a year and a half, 2 years. The vote will be overwhelming and they're going to have trouble cheating their way out of this. If, again, that's what I say, if I know it, they know it.
they know it. Exactly.
They're, they're in full panic mode right now because this is the end. This is the end of the deep state apparatus if Trump gets back in there. And I'm still saying there may not even be an election, in my opinion. But this would be the end of the deep state apparatus. Everything will absolutely collapse. And you don't have to love Trump to understand that that's what we're fighting right now.
Yep. Well, if we're looking at what's going on in March, we said March was going to be a busy month. Sure enough, it has been. It is just like the stories are just coming at us left, right, and center here. So far, we're all safe. Nobody's in danger of anything. We have the April 8th, whatever that's going to be. I don't know what that's going to be. If maybe nothing, but probably most likely it'll be nothing. But we have some stuff on the calendar that looks like. And Ron Paul was interviewed by Tucker Carlson saying he expects some kind of black swan event to rear its ugly head unannounced. Who knows? We don't know.
I think that's more than likely.
Yeah.
I don't see how they're even propping the economy up. So that's something that we really should be paying attention to.
Lewis, it's a spreadsheet. They're just numbers on a spreadsheet. They change them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
They're not even
that's it.
printing the dollars anymore. It's like it's all digital. They
Yeah.
could make your balance $10 million in your bank account and it wouldn't change anything for anybody. It's just a
That's
number,
right. That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of where we are with stuff. I need a break. I really do. I just need a break. I can't continue.
I do use this just sometimes if I'm tired also. True story.
Wake
I
you
just
up a
spray it
little
on yeah, and it kind of gives me a little boost, which is kind of cool.
Well, it's a glutathione spray, Neumi Skin, and it is a glutathione, nanoparticleized glutathione that goes right into the skin, gets absorbed pretty quickly, and helps you with dealing with oxidative stress. Has other benefits as well, tightens the skin, lightens the skin, and a lot of ladies are finding, you know what, don't need as much makeup, may not even need any makeup. So it's a cool product, and Lewis has been using it more and more. You can see he's now looking like he's 21, and soon he'll be a teenager, and we'll have to card him before he comes on the show.
Right.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So that's
I'm really
the external.
121.
There you go, 121. And this is the internal Neumi NutraSwish, which is a glutathione product, and they also added turmeric to it. And they nanoparticleize both of those things so that when you swish it in your mouth, it goes under the tongue and it's absorbed sublingually right into your system and goes right to work. Liver grabs the glutathione and says, okay, I got the fuel I need. I'm going to start detoxing. I'm going to help you recover from strenuous exercise, give you a little better sleep, maybe give you a little boost of energy. I know Lewis and I both swish before the show is live. It helps us, be sparkly during the show. And it certainly has a lot of other health benefits. And people are finding one thing that I find very fascinating. Stephen Scott talked about it when he was on the show, is people's gums are growing back. Now, your dentist will say impossible to grow your gums back. And apparently, the glutathione, the NutraSwish, is actually helping with that. Less bleeding gums. And the other thing that he talked about, which was really fascinating, is people are using less supplements. So instead of having 5, 10 different things you're taking every day, and that was common for me, taking a lot less now because I don't need as much.
Yep.
It's really fascinating how when you give the body what it needs, it does what it needs. And this is Neumi Hers, Hers, and this is for the ladies. This helps with, that time of the month, those symptoms. This is a botanical. So they added many different herbs that help with those symptoms that you get that time of the month. And if you're menopausal, postmenopausal, premenopausal, it helps with hot flashes as well. Again, 2 capfuls under the tongue, swish it around for a minute or so. It all gets absorbed right away, goes to work immediately. Ladies, it increases libido. I'm sure your gentlemen will appreciate that. So you can find out more about this. The link is in the description of the channel that you're watching on. Just go there and look for the Neumi link, and you will be taken to their website, and you can find pack. I suggest you buy the Neumi Skin and the NutraSwish, if nothing else. Get both of those. And if you want to be a reseller and promote this, and you'll get an affiliate link, sign up as a member. You get a choice of signing up as a customer or whatever. You sign up as a member, and you'll get that. And you also get the best prices for the products as well.
Love me some Neumi.
Love me some Neumi. All right. Florida has a...
It's safe to say the fans had a...
There you go. They never use the term. See that? Never.
So this is where I think President Trump was playing some damn good 5D chess.
Tell me.
Because if you look into Merriam-Webster's dictionary, right, the mainstream media and all the pundits that you saw, in most cases, we're talking about number one. The number one definition of bloodbath is a great slaughter. The other thing they were talking about when they were talking about politics was number two. Number two definition of a bloodbath is a noticeably fierce, violent, or destructive contest or struggle. B, 2B, is what Trump was saying, a major economic disaster.
Yep.
So it's amazing. He was very clear. So if you just, and I'm looking at what I consider the Cabal's dictionary. This is Merriam-Webster's dictionary. 2B says a major economic disaster. That's what he's referring to. But these Satanists like to flip the narrative when they've been using these words in context of a great slaughter, not his, for decades. So that's a great video. This is definitely 5D chess from Trump's part, because he knew he'd throw that out there. They would take a hook, line, and sinker. They probably already had that video just about ready, would be my guess.
That's a lot of work to find all. There's a lot of editing. It's like, I'm glad I'm not doing that. That's weeks of editing.
I
But
was
maybe
thinking the same thing.
AI, maybe they got it done. This is something we're seeing a lot more of these days, and really good news.
4 years ago, I pulled into this parking lot and voted for Andrew Yang in the Democratic primary, and I left the parking lot playing a song called Donald Trump. And today I just went in there and voted for Donald Trump in the primary because I was wrong and because he's the best person to lead this country.
More and more. I'm seeing these videos now every day.
Well, you saw it somebody close to you, which I thought was a phenomenal story. I don't want you to expose this person, but somebody very close to you. Tell that story, how they flipped.
Yeah, they're a lifelong Democrat. And, I got asked the question when I saw them in person. It says, is Donald Trump really as bad as they say? And I explained to him that my aunt worked for him for 2 years. And she actually wrote me a handwritten letter back in 2015, 2016. And she said, I'm voting for Trump. I don't care what you think. Of course, I was on board anyway. And she said, I worked for him for 2 years, and the guy was a gentleman. He was caring. It was the best job she ever had. And the employees were well taken care of, and on, right? So he asked me about that, and I told him that story, and I told him other stories. I said, the media wants you to hate him because he's an outsider, and, he came in to get rid of all the corruption. And interestingly enough, he's really on board with RFK Jr. Well, that messaging is exactly the same as Trump's messaging. It's very similar. There are differences, obviously, but it's very similar. It's the same idea. So it was not a big hop for him to come around and say, I love Donald Trump. I'm like, it kind of shocked me. I didn't expect that, but there it is, and it's like we're seeing more and more. There's these kinds of videos I'm finding almost daily now of Democrats saying they're not voting Democrat anymore. They're coming over. So maybe, Lewis, we are headed toward the after party.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's getting there. That's going to be the struggle, I believe. Unfortunately, not fear porn. It's just the writings on the wall that we're in the middle of war. There's going to be some huge battles to come, and I do believe in what Juan is saying when he thinks there. That being said, for the good news is my wife had a very similar experience to you just this week. Another client that was a Trump hater has now come around. And by the way, Robert and I are not publicly saying whether we support President Trump or not. We're trying to be unbiased inside the news at the same time, but it's very clear that his principles are starting to resonate with people, and they're like, okay, this is a better path forward.
Exactly right. And at the end of the day, for me, it is common sense. If you have a strong and vibrant economy, a rising tide floats all ships. And I really believe that when you have a vibrant economy, everyone thrives. And if you're not thriving, well, that's your decision, right? Somebody asked me, what's my definition of failure? My definition of failure is a guy who never gets off the couch.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I believe I just put a video out about failing forward.
Yeah.
Failing is a wonderful, wonderful
learning
gift to us if we understand how to embrace it instead of run from it.
But we were beaten up in school when we did something wrong. And so we run from failure, and failure is the path to success. Go figure, right?
Yeah. We run towards perfection.
Yep.
And perfection will I can tell you from running businesses, perfection will make you fail every single time.
Perfection is the lowest standard you can hold yourself to, because you can never achieve it. So you're always setting yourself up for failure. So just think about that. And there was Barry Baumgartner. She has a great saying. She says, "Progress, not perfection." I'm like, I like that.
Yeah, love it. All
right. Did you ever go to AutoZone? Oh boy, was that too funny.
Oh, you know what? But the best comedy is always driven from truth.
Yep.
It is always driven from truth. So I was a service advisor, proud to say, when I was 18. I worked for Montgomery Ward's, if anybody ever remembers.
Oh, I remember
store.
Montgomery Ward, yeah.
Yes, and I sold tires. And I was the highest volume seller of tires at 18 in the whole company.
Wow.
At Montgomery Ward's. And the last place they wanted me is in the tire department, because I only sold Michelin tires, and they made money on Montgomery Ward's, and the Michelin tires just drove them into the door. But I refused to sell it. I would only sell the best because I wanted people's safety, and I broke down the dollars per mile. Guess what we used to use, Rob? We had these big, thick books, right?
Yep.
You'd go like this, Dodge, boom. All right. 79, cool. This engine, cool. There you go. There's your spark plug right over here on the shelf. Done. I mean, it was that quick, but now we had technology and everything goes slower. Here's a great example. How many people, raise your hand if you deal with this? Technology on your automated customer service phone conversations
slower
takes you a lot longer than it ever has when you actually talk to a human. Raise your hand if you've ever had that experience.
Every time, every single time. Yep.
Crazy, right? It is just madness. We live in a mad, mad world, Robert and Brielle.
I was on a chat the other day with tech support. I probably could have gone on a phone call and got the questions answered in 5 minutes, over an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you get somebody that has a clue, they're like, oh, it's da-da-da, up, here you go.
Done. Well, that is all I had for you today.
Well, that's a full show. Guess what we're doing tomorrow, folks? It's Q&A with Clueless Lewis. Dun, dun, dun.
That's gonna be fun. Yeah.
So I'll be answering as many questions as I can. Just go to my Telegram channel, and when you see the post for Q&A. Just go reply there, and we'll do our best. And if you can't do that, go to screwbiggov@protonmail.com. Hopefully they'll get it to me in time where I can post it on the show tomorrow. So I'd suggest you get it there earlier than later.
Perfecto. Thank you, my friend. Great job today. Appreciate it. Appreciate Alan Fountain joining us as well. And all of you in the chat, thank you for your kind words. And glad you got a chuckle out of that little lady. As people were saying, it was hysterical. Yeah, it pretty much was.
Awesome.
I couldn't stop laughing because it was so real. Yeah. So, Louis, it's all you tomorrow.
Thank you, admins. We appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. It's all you tomorrow,
guys,
Louis.
Like, follow, subscribe. We always forget that important thing.
Yes, make sure you do that.
In fact, share. Right at the beginning of the hour, Robert, somebody posted again, I had to subscribe for a second time because they kicked me off.
Yep.